Okay, I'm going unscripted for this one. I just want to get this done quick and easy, get back to more substantial content. You know how I am. The way it works is rather than picking the best games of the year altogether, it's the best game of each month of the year, just to try and be a little different, you know? So let's kick things off with January. The only games from January I played were Street Fighter V Arcade Edition and the demo of Dissidia Final Fantasy NT. Street Fighter V isn't anything special, and in fact I'm going to be criticising the story of that game in the upcoming Wasted Potential. Honestly, Dissidia's demo really did not inspire much hope in that game, and I love the original two Dissidias, but god, the demo for this new one was just awful. And no, I've not played Dragon Ball FighterZ or Monster Hunter World. I don't really have much interest in those two, honestly. And I'm not going to put something on the list if I have not played it. So, of the two games from January I played this year, the best one was Street Fighter V Arcade Edition. I'm sorry if it offends you that I've not played those other two games that are clearly superior, but I just wasn't interested. If you like those games, that's fine. I'm not criticising them. You might think I shouldn't have to explain this, but apparently I fucking do, because people get upset when you leave stuff off a list. Just make your own fucking list. Jesus Christ. So anyway, February. I said that with, a light tone, but the only games from this month I have played are Metal Gear Survive, Dynasty Warriors 9, and Bayonetta 1 and 2, which got ported to the Switch. They count as one game. I've not played the Switch port of Bayonetta 1 and 2, so I'm just going to say Bayonetta 1 is the best game of February, because I refuse to put Dynasty Warriors 9 or Metal Gear Survive on here. Metal Gear Survive was just... I played it once. I keep meaning to try it again, but I just have no interest, honestly. And Dynasty Warriors 9 was a fucking train wreck. I don't think anything in that game works right. Like, the voice acting is dreadful, and they've changed the entire cast, which is always a fucking black mark. Fucking NetherRealm, Sonya Blade, arseholes. And like, the open world didn't really work. It doesn't feel like this was something they thought would be a really cool direction to take the series. It really just feels like this is the in thing to do, so let's do it. Everything's just so bland and uninteresting. It doesn't feel like there's any passion put into this project. If you want to play a Dynasty Warriors game that's good, play 8. 8 Extreme Legends is a fucking phenomenal game. That's the way you get into this franchise, not 9. 9 is piece of shit. Fuck that. And I know some people will say, Bayonetta 2 is better than Bayonetta 1. I'm sorry, I just prefer Bayonetta 1. Deal with it. I haven't played any new games from March, only games that were ported to new systems in March. That's Final Fantasy 15, fuck that, Assassin's Creed Rogue Remastered, and Shantae and the Pirate's Curse. Oh, and Devil May Cry HD Collection. I'm going to say Shantae. I love Devil May Cry, but the HD collection is kind of held back a bit by having 2 on there. Plus, I think Shantae really needs more love, and Pirate's Curse is my favourite installment of that series. It shakes up the gameplay quite a bit by basically removing all of Shantae's previous powers and replacing them with what is effectively a Risky Boots moveset, where she's got the sword and boots for running faster in the hat. But yeah, it's my favourite of the 4 games. Definitely worth getting, and it's on Switch, it's on Steam, it's on pretty much everything. It's less Metroidvania than the previous installment, but there's still some of that influence in there, so definitely check that game out. April. Finally, a month that has a game that was brand new that I did play this year. YAKUZA 6, The Song of Life. Because, it's better than God of War, or at least remains truer to the original series, rather than this drastic shift that God of War went through. And Yakuza 6 is a fun game. There are definitely problems with it, especially if you've played the other games. A lot of the stuff in the story was a real letdown. A lot of characters did not come back that really should have been here, considering this is the climax to Kiryu's story. And the gameplay isn't as good as it was in Zero and Kiwami. I don't think anyone would argue that it's better. But, it's still fun to go around Kamurocho and the new location in Hiroshima and just wander around, especially in first person, because the graphics are really good. I feel like the characters look a little bit off. I feel like the texture on the characters is not that great, but the environments are stunning. You can have all these big vistas and snowy mountainsides and all this shit, but this is just a really well done small world with a city that's just... it looks real. So just wandering around the town, getting into fights, and the combat system is not as good as the previous games, but it's still good. It still does what it needs to. There's a bit more going on in May, I notice. There's the cloud port of Resident Evil 7, which I hear is dreadful, despite the actual game originally being really good. Persona 4 Dancing All Night got its PS4 port, and I remember playing on the Vita and it was pretty good. Dark Souls Remastered... yeah, that's going to go on my fucking list, innit? it has to be Hyrule Warriors Definitive Edition on the Switch. The original Hyrule Warriors is one of my favourite entries in the entire Warriors franchise. It's just really good. The 3DS port had its problems, mostly down to the hardware. Some plot stuff as well, but mainly down to the hardware being the problem. So moving that to a more powerful system where it's effectively Hyrule Warriors original with the content from Legends all brought over, including all of its DLC and some new stuff as well, some new costumes and that. It's just a really fantastic package, and it's a great place to start if you want to try out the Warriors games. You know, of course, Warriors games are not for everyone. I've said this many times in the past. So it's best to find a setting that you really like. So if you're really into Zelda, this is a good place to try and get into these games. So that's one to check out. I don't really have much to say to end any of these segments, I realise. It's all just the same. Check that one out, guys. It's a good game. Fuck. I actually had to go back and re-record June because something went wrong with the audio, so here's the new version of it. I originally put Nier on here because I thought, well, I've actually played that game properly, though not the current ports, but then I remembered, oh yeah, I actually put that on the list last year, so I can't do that. So I was going to put in Blaze Blue Cross Tag Battle because I played the demo for that, but something happened in between the two audio recording sessions, which was I played Vampire, or Vampire, or however it's meant to be pronounced. So that has to go on the list, despite the fact that the last time I played it, I stopped playing it because I was getting pissed off with the boss fights in the sewers. This game, I get the idea that you're not going to be as strong if you don't drain people's blood and kill them. It's basically doing what Bioshock did, where Bioshock's like, well, if you kill the little sisters, the immoral thing, then you get the additional atoms so you can be more powerful. But Bioshock dropped the ball by making it that you get more benefits in the long run if you spare the little sisters rather than killing them. And this, I guess, is an attempt to rectify that with something that actually works, but it just means that the combat becomes way too difficult and frustrating because the enemies are just way more powerful than you most of the time. And sometimes when you die and reload, you don't even get your ammo back. So you're put in an even worse position than you were otherwise. And he's got some cool ideas. I like some of the stuff they got going. I like the social aspects where you're trying to build up your relationship with these people so you can get more experience for taking their blood. But as you're doing that, you might start to like them more. You realise, oh, this person isn't as much of a dick as I thought they were when you were setting them up to be your next meal. And you're like, oh, do I really want to kill them now? See, there's good stuff there. And the combat, it's fine. It's whatever. In a lot of ways, it feels like it's intended as a successor to Vampire the Masquerade. You know, in a way that actually works rather than what Dark did a few years ago. I think it was called Dark. Yeah, shows how memorable that fucking game was. Hopefully it'll get better as I keep playing it. But yeah, currently I don't want to put it on the list. But I mean, what else am I going to fucking put on here? Fucking Fallout Shelter? Fucking Fortnite? No. July. God, I remember last year I actually passed up Sonic Mania for the list because there was another game that month I liked more. But honestly, what else am I going to put here? I mean, I played the demo for the original Red Faction Guerrilla and that got remastered. But Sonic Mania, it was fine. I just think some of the levels went on way too long and then there was just some gimmicks that were really bad. I forget which level it was that I got stuck on and just lost interest completely. I remember running out of time or out of oxygen. One of those two, and I thought, fuck this. But Sonic Mania, if you really like the old 2D Sonics, this is a really good game. It's the original Sonic Mania with 2 extra characters. I don't know if there's more levels or anything. It's good if you're into that. I'm not that into the old Sonic games that much. I much prefer being able to see where I'm going for one. I also hate that the game has limited lives. Like, that shit should just not be in games anymore, ever. Even if it's meant to be like a retro throwback, I don't want to see limited lives anymore. See, this is what the list comes down to at the end of the day. It's just me just trying to say nice things about games. And sometimes I'm like, well, I didn't even like this game, but I've played it, so it has to go on the list. I can't get lucky every time and say, oh, well, Bayonetta's really good, and that got ported the same month as Dynasty Warriors 9 and fucking Metal Gear Survive came out. That's the world we live in, I guess. 2018 wasn't that great for games, it seems. Just wait for the 2019 list next year. That one should be good. I mean, it has fucking Resi 2 and DMC 5 on it. August was a really weird one because the only games I've played from this month, other than Okami HD, but I played the PS3 version, not the new Switch port. The only games I've played are Yakuza 0, which got ported to PC, Yakuza 3, which got remastered in Japan, and Yakuza Kiwami 2, because I have actually played this particular release of Kiwami 2. Kiwami 2 has to go on the list. Kiwami 2 is good. There were some things that were definite drawbacks, things that they cut from the original release, but overall I'm glad Kiwami 2 exists because I think it plays a lot better than the original. And it has its shortcomings, but it's a good game, and it improves on Yakuza 6's mechanics a bit. Not enough to where it feels like a true successor to what we had in Yakuza 0, but enough to get by. And yeah, I will say, guys, if you're trying to get into Yakuza, do not let people shame you from just playing the Kiwamis. Ideally, you will have the time, money, and inclination to play every entry, but if you don't, that is fine. Don't let anyone tell you different. It is fine to skip Yakuza 1 and 2 and just play the Kiwamis. If you do that, though, you have to start with 0 because Kiwami falls on some stuff from 0, you know? So it's fine, guys. Don't let those elitists tell you otherwise. Spider-Man. I mean, let's be real, what else is it going to be? Shadow the Tomb Raider? Spider-Man was... Honestly, I didn't have much interest in the game leading up to release. I generally tried to stay away from previews and stuff because I knew I was going to play the game eventually. I prefer to play games or watch movies blind, so I'll watch usually like 1, maybe 2 trailers and just stop there. Honestly, Spider-Man was just really good. It's not like an amazing, like fantastic, like game changer like a lot of people thought it was. But honestly, it was fun. The suit did grow on me a bit. I think it would have grown on me more if there weren't so many other fucking costumes to play around with. And then with the DLC, you get even more. That's great. Like the DLCs actually came with additional costumes, including Spider UK. Spider UK is great, just don't Google it because, you know, you'll get the wrong thing. Put in Captain Britain Spider-Man. That's how you find Spider UK, because if you just put Spider UK, Google images will fuck you up. It's definitely the successor to Spider-Man 2 that we always wanted. I don't hold Spider-Man 2 on this really high pedestal like a lot of people do. It's just that, you know, I played Spider-Man 3 and Web of Shadows and the Amazing games, and they all had certain flaws that were keeping them from being like on par with 2. Whereas this game doesn't have like a major flaw like bad QTEs and bad boss fights, or generally kind of bad web swinging or kind of shitty combat. There's definitely problems with the game, like when it throws you into an area and it's like, okay, is this stealth this wave of enemies? Oh, now they just instantly know you're here, even if you got through stealthily. Like, I feel like that's something that needs to be improved in the sequel. They really need to beef up these stealth options and make it that you don't feel like you've wasted your fucking time by forcing you to do combat after stealth. The gameplay's good, story's good, the graphics are phenomenal, and as always, there's a wide variety of Spider-Man costumes that even if you don't like the new one all that much, you still got classics. Like they gave away the movie one from the Sam Raimi movie one for free, and recently put out Future Foundation and Bombastic Bagman together for free. That's awesome. These people clearly care about the Spider-Man IP, and I'm really looking forward to the inevitable sequel to see what new bad guys we're going to get to see like reimagined and what new gameplay options there'll be for the other playable characters. Hopefully Mary Jane's sections won't fucking suck this time. Guys, October. You may have been able to figure out by now, but I did not really look through what games came out last year before deciding to do this video. I'm actually just looking through the list as I go through recording this. So that's why there are so many points where I'm like, this is not a game I played this month, but I've played a past version. This video may have been ill-conceived, but October is actually pretty good for this because there is Soul Calibur 6, Fist of the North Star Lost Paradise, and Warriors Orochi 4. So I actually have 3 games to choose from. How good is that? Well, it's shocking that there are 3 Yakuza games released here in the West. I mean, we go from having no games to like 1 game digital only to then 2 games in a year, and now 3 games in a year. Kind of a shame we've not heard about what we're going to be getting next, but what can you do? So I played Lost Paradise and actually just finished it yesterday at the time of recording. It was a bit of a slog to get through. I think the fact that I'm not really interested in Fist of the North Star is one of the contributing factors, but also just some of the plot things, like even for a Yakuza game, are really dumb and just not good. And I feel like the game's combat focused way too much on the big pressure point moves where you just blow people up. I appreciate that the game was uncensored for the Western release, while the original Japanese version was censored to the point of lunacy. I can appreciate that, but honestly, I just wasn't that into it. There's a free DLC Kazuma Kiryu skin though, that's pretty funny, even if the proportions are completely fucked, because it has to match the North Star, tiny torso, massive legs skeleton. Soul Calibur 6, I don't know what it is. I played through the main story and played through a couple of the character stories, and I've just not been back to it since. It's not just because there's other games that I need to play through. I guess I just have to accept that story modes in Soul Calibur are just bad. Why can't we just go back to Tales of Souls? I know a lot of those cutscenes reused animations between characters, and it's just the same cutscene but with different characters. But that's fine. It's better than just having pictures. You know, in an era where everyone's trying to have these big cinematic story modes, Namco is really going cheap on it. You know, half the cutscenes in Tekken 7 story were just pictures with some asshole no one gave a shit about talking over it. And then Soul Calibur 6 comes along and decides to top that with like 5 cutscenes across all the characters, and the rest is just pictures and talking heads. The gameplay is good, of course. It's Soul Calibur gameplay. That's never gone downhill, but the story mode is really not that great. But I do applaud them for actually having single-player content, something a lot of fighting games could fucking learn from. And there's Warriors Odyssey 4. This game has problems too. The character select menu is fucking atrocious. The new characters are not that good, and they don't make up for losing all the previous characters that were dropped from the previous game. There's also a shockingly small number of actual maps, and the story is kind of unmemorable. I think what this series needs most is a reboot to just go back to the plot of Warriors Odyssey 1 with all the newer characters and maps. And granted, I'm shocked that we got this one. I mean, this game's got like 190 characters, and if they keep going, obviously they have to include all the characters from Spirit of Sanada, Dynasty Warriors 9, other games that have come out by then. There's a lot that needs to be included, so it's shocking we got Warriors Odyssey 4 at all. I thought we were just going to get Warriors All-Stars from now on. But you know, the gameplay's still really good. I'm not too fond of the new magic system, and the inability to save in the middle of a stage is a fucking piss take, especially when you're trying to play through the stage on the highest difficulty. Like, here's a stage, you're gonna have to fight Lu Bu like 5 times to get these weapons, and also fight Odin and Loki, and they can all kill you in a few hits, and I'm not sure there are even any healing items on this difficulty. Am I just talking myself out of putting this game on the list? The fuck am I doing? I'm going to have to go with Soul Calibur, I think, because while the story is not that well told with the way they approached it, at the very least, you know, you got the custom characters, and the story itself is not bad. Like, I'd say Warriors Odyssey 4 story is probably bad, and North Star is not that great. Plus, you know, Soul Calibur 6, I got the collector's edition with the Sophitia figurine, and that thing is fucking dope, so yeah. Soul Calibur 6 is the best game of October. November's another good one. What's going on? So, this month there was Spyro Reignited Trilogy, Darksiders 3, and Hitman 2. And I don't actually have a lot negative to say about them. Calm down. Other than Darksiders. Darksiders 3, I feel, was really trying to be like Dark Souls without really understanding what made Dark Souls work. The game is way too fast-paced for you to take that kind of damage. You know, Dark Souls is a much slower experience, and I think it works better that way. Bloodborne is faster, yeah, but they had to put in little concessions like, because it's faster, there is a way to quickly get health back if you're aggressive enough. But Darksiders didn't really do that. Eventually, they did patch in something that tweaks the game to play more like the older games, which is a plus. I've not played that yet, because I'd already finished the game by then. I'll probably give it a go when the DLC comes out, because it's not a bad game. It does feel like it was made with Strife in mind, though. Like, Fiori's now portrayed as being the one who has a big problem with the other horsemen. Like, she's the outsider. When you look at previous stuff like the Abomination Vault novel, and it's quite clear that this is not the case. Strife is the one who is standoffish and a huge cock. I don't know what the deal is. Like, why is Fiori in this role now? It really feels like it was written for Strife, but then they decided to use Fiori instead. You know, the combat's fine. Some of the bosses are really shit, like the big fish thing. I think it's Sloth. That one was a piece of shit. Hopefully the DLC will be really good. I also really hope they add the classic costume, the original design, as DLC, just as something nice for the fans. That'd be nice. Spyro Reignited is, of course, the original Spyro trilogy, but with updated graphics, some updated voices and designs, some of which are good, some of which aren't. It does still carry over a lot of the flaws that the original had, though. I mean, if you've played Spyro 1, that Nasty Nork fight can fuck right off. And even this version didn't improve any of it. It's just still do the whole thing in one go. Bosses have way too much health, and you die in like 3 hits and you'll rarely get an item. I had to stop in the Reignited trilogy. The Nasty Nork fight is bullshit. The second boss fight in Spyro 2 is bullshit. Maybe if we go back to Spyro 3, I'll be able to really enjoy that one, but I think those two not being fixed sufficiently, I think, put me off playing 3, even though 3 is my favourite. And then you have Hitman 2, which is more of Hitman 2016, to the point that if you have the original game, you can actually get all the levels from that game in Hitman 2 with the updated mechanics. It's just Hitman again, but better. So of course that's going to fucking win. That game was great. I fucking love that game, Hitman. It's just really good, and Hitman 2 has more inventive kills in the new stages, some really cool locations to go to. The story's still basically nothing, although it does raise questions of whether or not this is actually a reboot or a prequel or a sequel or whatever, because I thought it was set in the same continuity as the old ones, but now with the backstory that's gone into with 47, I'm not entirely sure that's the case. It might actually be a reboot. But yeah, this game's definitely going on the list. December apparently brought out the Persona dancing games again. I guess the previous listing was for the Japanese version. December also came, of course, with Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, and it has to go on the list. Not because it's a particularly amazing game. I mean, honestly, there's a lot wrong with it. You know, I feel like perhaps we have got to the point where there are too many characters. Like, I see that big roster for classic mode and I just think, I don't want to do that. And the story mode was a complete waste of fucking time. What was the point of that? Spirits mode is just trash. Some of the fights are absolute bullshit, and it's weird because, you know, you play some of them and you think, well, this is not good, I'll come back to this later, and then you just have a better spirit later on and you just fucking crush it. Like, I remember the fight against Metal Gear Rex, which for some reason is 2 giant metal robs, because I guess there are 2 Metal Gear Rexes, and I really struggled with that. And then later on it came back and it was a piss take. It was just so easy because it came out with a better spirit. Like, why is Smash about stats now? It shouldn't be about fucking stats. Fighting games, when they delve into stats, are bad. But I had a fun Smash night with the guys on my Discord. I'm really looking forward to Smash 6, hoping that someone other than Sakurai directs this, someone who gives a shit about single player content. God damn. They don't even have All-Star mode anymore. They have the All-Star Cruel Melee thing, and that's just garbage. Like, hey, play this mode and do it as Ken and only use special moves. And then you die on, like, Wario at the end. And it just makes you want to fucking quit the game, honestly. You know, it's good, but if not for the fact that I play it with people on my Discord, I probably would have just traded it in. I think the last truly great Smash game was Brawl. And I know people are going to go, ha, Brawl's the worst one, ha ha ha. But Brawl actually had a good story mode. It felt like it was worth playing. The cutscenes were really fun. Because the problem that Smash has is that, unlike Brawl, every other Smash game kind of goes on the concept of X versus Y as a crossover, not X meets Y. Because seeing the characters meet and interact is the fun part of a crossover. Who could win in a fight is fucking boring and is what appeals to fucking children. It's why Death Battle's so popular. People just like, oh, I want to see who wins in a fight between Superman and Goku. I want to see those 2 characters sit down and talk. Likewise, I don't give a shit who'd win in a fight between, like, Bayonetta and Ken from Street Fighter. Seeing those 2 sit down and talk and play off of each other in a fun and interesting way, that's what I want to see. And that's what we had in Subspace Emissary, but Spirits Mode is not that. What is the story of World of Light? Everyone fucking dies, and then there are 3 endings, one of which is the obvious true ending, the other 2 are just, why would you ever pick these? And the only reason to do that is to watch a big flashy cinematic cutscene where everyone fucking dies again. Good job, Sakurai. I really enjoyed the story. Jesus Christ. Because I didn't make a list of this ahead of time, I don't really remember what I put on the list up to now. So just going off memory, the ones I did put on the list, which theoretically should be a way of saying, well, I remembered this one more than the others, so I guess that's the best one. It would have to be Hitman 2. Hitman, I don't know what happened. Like, Hitman was good but janky for the first 4, well, 2 through 4. I don't remember a lot of Hitman 1. Then it got not that great in Absolution. It had its moments, but it was fine. Then, out of nowhere, we got this Hitman 2016, which just completely reinvented the series and was fucking phenomenal. And then we get this one, which is the same with more content, but not to the point where there is too much content, as a lot of games have now. Like, I think that's something that the YAKUZA games need to deal with, that they have too much. It has a ton of content, really good. It really encourages replayability with the other missions set in the same maps and how you have the elusive targets and all the different ways to complete the missions. And it's always fun when you have old levels brought back in a new game and see how the new gameplay mechanics are implemented. Like, here's an old map from the first game, but there's tall grass now. And the new maps have some fun scenarios to play out, like, I'm going to go tattoo this target and fucking stab him in the neck. That shit's great. Apparently it didn't sell all that well, unfortunately, so I don't know what the future holds for Hitman, unfortunately, because I think part of it was the marketing. Like, there wasn't a lot of marketing leading up to the release, so I think we can probably blame Warner Bros. For this, because I like blaming Warner Bros. Because Warner Bros. Is just the worst. So, yeah, I think it's their fault that Hitman 2 failed, because not because of the game itself. The game itself is fucking phenomenal, and you should definitely check that one out, because it is honestly a really good game. I mean, let's be honest, if you're into stealth games, what the fuck else are you going to play? There's Assassin's Creed, which is fine. The last 2 aren't that good. They have a lot of problems. Metal Gear is dead. Splinter Cell, despite what was claimed when Sam Fisher showed up in another game, is also dead. All we've got left is Hitman, and to be fair, that's not a bad game to be left with. If you're into stealth, if you're into assassination, if you're into just good games, buy it. You know, it's rare that I'll say that a game from Warner Bros. Is fucking worth buying, but this one is. Buy it. Buy it now. Go out to the shops or your favourite online retailer and buy a copy of the game. And the phone's going off, so I should probably stop here. Hitman 2 is the game I enjoyed the most this year. I don't care what anyone else says. This is my list, the games I like the most. What you like does not matter to my list. You can leave your own personal lists of best games in the comments, that's fine, but you can't say that I'm wrong. This is what I liked. I cannot be wrong when I say this is the game I enjoyed the most this year. This video was a mistake.